Research undertaken by the National Science Foundation showed that we actually have 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Can you guess the percentage of those thoughts that are negative? Well, let me tell you, it's 80%. If you've guessed 80%, you are spot on. 80% of our thoughts are negative, and out of those 80% of thoughts that are negative, 95% of those are on repeat. Repeat. Repeat, just in case you didn't get it the first time. In success principle number 32, we're going to talk about how you take those thoughts from critical, horrible, just downright nasty thoughts so that they are much more positive. And we're going to talk about like positive thoughts here. We're talking about taking it from inner critic to inner coach. My name is Ruth Ellen, and you've just landed on the S.H.E channel, where we shift, heal and expand, where we take information, we turn it into implementation, and we see a transformation. We don't just sit here and watch passively, we do things. So if that sounds like you, then keep watching, because in this video, we're going to talk about going from inner critic to inner coach. And I know that can sometimes sound like, oh, it sounds like a lot of work. Oh yeah. No, it doesn't actually. It sounds like at the end of the rainbow, you're going to have peace. You're going to have clarity, and you are going to have some support, much more support than you're currently getting from your own damn mind. So let's begin. Now, there's obviously lots of reasons as to why we think negative. I'm not going to go into it in this video because I do want you to go and get Jack Canfield's Success Principle book. But I do want to talk about the solution and be solution focused. When it comes to the reason why we are critical about ourselves, it's because there's some truths that are very hard for us to hear. Truths that don't always come from the highest, most nicest place. And so we've got to learn to work with that. We've got to not to allow those thoughts to become our truths. And how do we do that? We've got to get completely, totally truthful with ourselves, and we've got to honour parts of ourselves that we are just sometimes dishonouring. As parts of we're angry, we're fearful, we're demanding sometimes, but we're also loving. And so when we embrace all of that, not just the light parts of the love, but also the dark parts of the fears and the anger, we can see it from every single perspective, be a witness rather than a judge, and move forward. Because let's face it, the inner critic actually wants us to do well. It's saying things in a way that's not necessarily helpful because it hasn't been trained. So our job is to retrain it so we can reframe it and then move forward. So how do we do that? The total truth, something that Jack Canfield talks about, is talking about the anger part of it, the anger part of your belief, the fearful part of your belief, the request in the belief to make it much more tangible, and the love part of the belief. That, as in, how can you say it from a place of love? So let's look at that. So somebody has not been showing up on social media, for example, something that I sometimes work in terms of I help my clients with. They haven't been showing up consistently, or at least delivering their message in a way that's going to be helpful to the ideal client, to the soulmate client. So what is the anger that will come up when they've realised that is, why aren't you showing up already? And the fear is, I'm afraid to be seen as a weirdo, as somebody that talks about some of the stuff that it's quite hard to digest sometimes, and I'm not sure if they're going to understand what I'm saying. And the request is much more around, well, could we start with perhaps showing up from our heart once per week, maybe on a Monday? Maybe we can share a heartfelt video for, I don't know, 5 minutes. And the loving part is, I want you to share your message. I think what you've got is amazing. And I know that it's going to help and serve somebody at a greater level. And in order for you to do your work, to fulfill your purpose, your message and your truth has to really come out and help somebody that's in need of your unique gifts. Can you do that at least once per week for 5 minutes? And then we can work on maybe doing that for maybe 2 times. We can build up. Does that sound good? Now, you can see that the tonality and the tone and pace of everything else is different when you're looking at it from anger, fear, requesting, and love. And love is kind of bringing it all together, right? Because at the end of the day, whenever you've heard somebody scream angrily at you about something, you can't hear their request. Whenever you've heard somebody come from a place of fear, you haven't heard the empowerment. Whenever you've just heard the request, you've kind of seen it as, it would be nice to, but it's not necessarily, I'm not going to do it. But once you hear it from a place of love, it's very much like, there's a whole big reason behind it. I'm more open to listening because I'm even in that state of being open to suggestions, because I'm even in that theta state where I'm just relaxed, because the whole tonality and message is being delivered in such a nice way. That's amazing. And so we've got to get into the state, that state of listening and hearing more often. And we can only do that by being still. And I know sometimes you're thinking, I'm too busy to just be still. You should never be too busy to be still. You should be able to take that time out for yourself every day to listen to you. Because no matter what the outward world says, who you are with day in, day out is you. And so in order for you to trust yourself, in order for you to go from inner critic to inner coach, you need to be able to listen to your voice more than anyone else's in the world. Because your voice, even when you're channeling it and you're the best and you're the open vessel and you want the information to flow from the universe, it's still going to be your voice in there, right? There's still your highest wisdom coming out. And if you've got everyone else's voice, when are you actually listening to yourself? So that's part of the inner coach process. Now, you can start to do this much more from a place of just riffing, having a conversation, but science also shows that most of the ideas that come out of our brain last for 40 seconds. So you've got to write it down in terms of the steps. The action steps are going to help you to maybe not procrastinate so much, maybe not overthink, maybe not half-heartedly show up. All the things that you get angry about yourself, because the thing is, your triggers, things that trigger you, there's a gift in there, there's a medicine in there. And so go beyond the trigger by breaking it down and seeing where the medicine's at, and then using that medicine to make yourself more healthier. Because let's face it, anger and fear affect the body physically. It makes you ill. And if you stay in that fear and anger for so long, you are not helping yourself. And if you deny your fear and anger, if you pretend it's not there and you just try to stay positive, when something comes up and it triggers you, you can't blame it because you haven't honored that part of you. So this is about honoring all of you. If you really want to be that inner coach, you can't just be dealing with the parts that you only want to talk to. You also want to be available for all of you. And this is going to take practice, because you might be used to the response of anger or the response of fear. If you ever said, I can't do this. I'm afraid that if I take this idea and I share it with the world, people are going to think I'm nuts. I'm afraid that if I speak and people have a hard time hearing what I'm saying, that they're never going to listen to me again. I'm afraid to be me because I don't even accept me. Those are things that happen in our brain sometimes. And so being an inner coach means honoring parts of you that have that belief, so that you can actually walk through that and feel the truth and find the evidence that says, actually, that's not quite right, and that you are loved, you are supported, and you have more than enough to deliver your message. All of those things, right? So I encourage you to get the book. It goes a bit more deeper than what I've just explained in terms of what you can do, but that's the crux of it. I've elaborated a little bit, obviously, because my own ideas. But the bottom line is this. I always say the bottom line is this. with all those thoughts that are going through your brain, if you want the world to treat you in a different way, you need to teach the world how to treat you by treating yourself well first. If you don't talk to yourself in a positive way, why do you think Joe, Bill and Bob out there are going to start talking to you in a positive way if you can't even do it? Teach yourself how to do it. And then you can start to create boundaries that are healthy for you to help you understand and know this is the minimum. I am a queen, and I don't wait for Prince Charming to come along. I sit on the throne knowing that I am the queen and I don't need somebody else's validation because I validate myself. And I also gone a bit off tangent, but think about it. If we constantly are out there listening to everyone else and not ourselves, we're validating them, their ideas more than ourselves. And we're saying that we're living for their praise. So if you live for somebody's praise, you die by their criticisms. If you live for somebody's praise, you die by their criticisms. Don't allow the critic to control you, if it's external or internal. Allow you yourself to be the monarch, the queen, whoever the title you want to give yourself, so that you understand that you're here for a purpose. And anything that doesn't help you to feel like that, to feel like you're doing the best that you can, to feel like you are elevating it every day, to feel like you are awesome and every day you're getting better and better, to feel like you are having some tools and techniques to help you get better even tomorrow, anything that doesn't align with that, when you are aware that that's things that are around you or internally are not aligning with that, you're quick to stop that. You're quick to say, no, that doesn't serve me, doesn't help me elevate. I need some specifics. I need you to get very specific, very granular with me, because criticizing me, telling me things that aren't good about what I'm doing is not helpful. Be solution focused, because that's how I'm solution focused in my own being. So that message was for someone. Don't know who, but it was for someone. So if you got value out of this, thumbs this video up, comment below, let me know what your biggest takeaway was. Yeah, this is about shifting, healing, expanding. It's a She Can channel. Up in here, we don't sit on our laurels. We shift, we heal, and we expand, and we do it from a place of love. So I hope that served you. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Completely honor yourself and validate yourself using those techniques. Thank you for watching.